What's up guys, Brian here, and welcome back to another episode of Onmyoji. So today we are going to talk about how to defeat Orochi 10 through a method called the frozen time. And the main reason why we want to use this method is because if you are just starting out and you might be having trouble completing Orochi 10 or even unlocking it, this is sort of like a shortcut for you to unlock it early on, so you can actually start seeing those grade 6 souls drops from the Kraken, or you can start farming with other high level players with some supporting units or your DPS unit. And again, this is a shortcut and it's a method that I would recommend you only use maybe once or twice. It is not a reliable way to farm for grade 6 souls or to clear Orochi 10, simply because of how much time it will take to complete it and how much luck you need to make it work. And quick shout out to the Onmyoji guide website for just making such an amazing website, and it's been incredibly helpful. And that's actually where I picked up the frozen time. And if you guys are interested in a text version of today's guide, feel free to check it out. I'm going to include a link down below. And without further ado, we'll get started. So before we start digging into the frozen time, there are a few prerequisites we need to fulfill. So do keep in mind that there are different variations to the frozen time, and I'm sharing this particular one because I feel like this is the easiest one to achieve to most players. And this method will require us to have a few copies of Yamausagi and one good TPS unit. So for the first Yamausagi, we will need to make sure that her second skill is fully skilled up. So the first Yamausagi alone is going to take at least 3 copies of Yamausagi. And if you're unlucky and all your skill ups go to skill 1 or skill 3, then you might need even more copies. So bear that in mind. Again, you want to make sure that her second skill is maxed. And once you've got that achieved, the second thing you need to do is get her speed up to 161. And again, since there can be variations, her speed doesn't have to be exactly 161, and it might still work. But for the sake of the video, we're just gonna say it has to be exactly at 161. And if you want to try out different speeds, go ahead. But I would recommend you guys to just follow this guide strictly. So again, this is probably going to be harder to achieve for newer players because they may not have the souls necessary to achieve this speed. But if you're able to grab a grade 4 soul or grade 3 soul with a speed stat as the main stat, then it should be doable. You want to also make sure you have 4 full set of fortune cat for all 4 Yamausagis, because we need these fortune cat soul sets to generate orbs. And it doesn't matter the grade level of the fortune cats, as long as it's there's a set. And if you don't have enough speed, then you might have to farm a lot of fortune cat soul sets and generate enough speed through the substats. So just keep that in mind. It might be a good idea to wait until you can farm chapter 16, where you can farm for fortune cats before you attempt the frozen time method. Okay, so that's our first Yamausagi. We need 161 speed and second skill fully maxed. For our second Yamausagi, it's going to be more straightforward. All we gotta do is evolve a Yamausagi and make sure that her second skill is unlocked. Okay, you don't need to give her any skill up. In fact, do not give skill ups to any more Yamausagi. All we gotta do is give skill up to the first one. Everyone else can just stay the same after you evolve them. However, the second one still has a speed requirement, but this one is even easier to achieve. You need a total of 140 speeds, and just make sure you have 140 speed again. Another set of fortune cat, and the grade level doesn't matter. The grade level of the fortune cat doesn't matter. And for our third and fourth Yamausagi, they're going to be exactly the same. It doesn't matter the level or the grade, as long as you have evolved them and their second skill is unlocked. And again, you want to make sure all their skills are the same or not leveled. So that's our third one, and the fourth one looks exactly the same. And again, fortune castle sets and other fortune castle sets. So there's our 4 Yamausagi that we're gonna use. And the next thing we'll need is a good DPS unit. So for the choice of DPS, I usually recommend you guys to pick your strongest DPS unit. For my case, it would have been Altengu, but for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna go with something else, because if I use Altengu, it would be a pretty unfair fight, because his attack is just too high. He's gonna finish off Kusa way too quickly. So I'm gonna go with Ubume. I know she's kind of a rare unit, and some of you might not have it, but do remember that it really doesn't matter which DPS unit you're using, as long as their attack power is strong enough. Unfortunately, she is my only weaker DPS unit. My other DPS units I haven't really played around with yet. So for your DPS unit, you can equip any soul set that you want, but for the purpose of the frozen time, I would recommend you guys to do an Azure Basan soul set. This is gonna help ensure that you will get those extra orbs that you might need for your Yamausagi to keep dancing. So the choice are either Azure Basan or Fortune Cats. And of course, you wanna get your attack up as high as possible, and give him or her some crit rate if possible. But just try and get the attack as high as possible, because the higher the attack of your DPS unit, the quicker the fight is gonna last. And just based on experience, you do not want to make it into a long fight just because of how exhausting it's gonna be. Or I'm just getting old. So there you go. I'm gonna use Ubume as an example, but for any of you guys, you can use other SSR units or other SR units, or pretty much any units that have high attack strength. So for our choice of Onmyoji, we're gonna go with Seimei, and you want to make sure that he has his shield spell protect skill set up, and this will really this might save your team if you're in a tight spot where your Yamausagi does not have enough orbs to use the bunny dance move. And so Seimei is my choice, but if you want, you can actually go with Kagura. And if you go with Kagura, you want to make sure that she has a channel storm skill, which is going to help you, I guess, give your Yamausagi an extra turn, thereby giving it another shot at generating orbs with the Fortune Cat set. But for the sake of this video, we're gonna use Seimei. So let's try it once and see how it goes. We're gonna be using Ubume as an example, because I decided to make it more realistic. If you guys are trying this, and probably means you're a newer player and you probably don't have a grade 6 DPS unit yet. So again, 4 rabbits and 1 DPS unit and Seimei in the back. Okay, let's try this. So we're gonna be manualing this entire fight, and wow, it was so tedious when I did it back then. It took me like 50 minutes to do this, and I feel like 5 times, and so it took me probably more than 3 hours. Okay, so we're gonna be using bunny dance pretty much every single time. Well, it's gonna be every single time you're gonna use bunny dance for your Yamausagi. And since we're using a Fortune Cat soul set, there may be a situation where you will not generate any orbs at all, and you probably just end up with 0 orbs. That is when Seimei's shield will come to handy. That's when you want to use it to protect your team from getting wiped out. So again, this method is very much luck based. Just don't get discouraged if you fail like a couple of times, because chances are you will fail a lot of times. Okay, so Seimei actually does a lot of damage because he's fully maxed out. His totem is 40 and I'm rank 60. So his attack is quite high. If you're doing this and you're using your Seimei to attack Kusa, you might actually help her heal her HP instead of doing damage to her. Let's see how much damage Ubume can do. 1161. So Ubume did 1161 damage, and she healed herself for 1200. And if you're unlucky, sometimes she healed herself for 1800. So this is why we need. You want to make sure you have a good DPS, or you want to make sure your Onmyoji is powerful enough to do damage. And if you cannot do enough damage to actually give her a net health loss, then you're not ready for the frozen time to clear Orochi 10 yet. I mean, you can probably clear Orochi 9, but you might just want to wait and improve on your DPS unit first before you try this method. So, okay, so we are going to I'm going to use basic skill again. So again, for Seimei, you can either choose to go with the basic skill attack or the shield protection. So I'm gonna go with the basic skill and see how much we can do. So another great thing about Ubume is she can assist attack sometimes. So if your Seimei uses normal attack, she can help you do even more damage. So if you have Ubume, great. If not, other DPS units would do. Just make sure they have enough attack strength. Again, she just healed herself. Probably should have used my Otengu. That would have made a fight a lot faster. But you know, let's keep it realistic, huh? Again, you're gonna keep your bunny dancing all day long. Okay, so that didn't take long, but again, it's not a fair comparison because your Onmyoji probably haven't ranked up yet. So just keep that in mind if you're trying this method. So after you take down Kutsa, everything else should be a lot easier because they don't have this annoying gimmick where they would heal themselves. So I may actually fast forward. So if all goes well, and if RNG is kind to you, and your orbs has been just regenerating without any issues, then the frozen time method is very straightforward. The only reason why it's frustrating to me sometimes is that the fortune cat sometimes does not regenerate any orbs. So we're gonna keep doing this. And one thing that I need you guys to keep in mind: do not use your DPS unit's skill attack. You know, do not use any skill attack that would cost her any orbs unless you're absolutely certain that you're gonna have orbs left over for your Yama Usagi. It's just not worth it. You might be saving off some time by doing more damage, but if you lose the fight, then you're gonna have to try this whole thing over again. So just use basic attack where it doesn't cost any orbs, and just take your time. Okay, so here is kind of an example of where I feel safe using her skill attack, because I'm gonna get 5 orbs in the next round, and that should leave me plenty of orbs for the rest of the fight. So I'm gonna use 1 skill attack, and that's the only situation where you should use any skill attacks. And even what I did was just kind of risky because I lost 1 orb. I had 1 orb missing. So we are at part 2. Again, I actually feel like this part is a lot easier than part 1 because there's no Kusa here. Again, the order of who you're attacking doesn't really matter, so just pick someone, and you just do just fine as long as your orbs are regenerating properly. Okay, see how I'm tempted to use a third skill to speed up this whole fight, but nope. Just gotta be patient. It's just not worth it. Because I already spent 10 minutes. I'm at most gonna save like 5 seconds off the fight if I use a skill attack. If I lose, I'm gonna lose 10 minutes. Oh, it looks like we're in danger here. Our orbs are getting dangerously low. Looks like we're fine again. I hope you guys can see the concept is basically the same. We just want to make sure your enemy will never get to take a turn. And the strength of your DPS unit wouldn't have mattered if it weren't because of Kusa. So in any other stages where there are no annoying healers that can heal themselves, this frozen time could have worked for pretty much, in theory, any stages. Okay, so not just in Orochi 10. The only downside being it's super boring, I guess, in a sense, and requires you to focus on this really boring task. Frozen time is pretty much, I guess, like almost like an invincible method to this game. So I'm pretty sure the game company is aware of this method. That's why they put Kusa here, you know, sort of like as a roadblock to, you know, prevent anyone from abusing it. And I guess this is a smart thing to do. But you know, if you want, you can use this frozen time method on other stages that you have trouble with, like the secret stages, for example. I haven't done it yet, but I probably should. Or, you know, just go the legit way and build a proper team to beat out this guy, Orochi 10, or any secret stages. Yes, that's the joy. That's the joy of the game. So we are now at part 3. Yeah, so this big snake looks kind of daunting, but it doesn't matter as long as he doesn't get to take a turn. We are going to win. As you guys can see here, we are almost to the end of the battle, and it's only taken us roughly, I guess it's gonna be 27 minutes by the time I'm done, which is a lot faster than when I did it last time when I was trying to clear Orochi 10 with this method. And that is mainly because my Onmyoji's level is at the max right now. Before I was only at rank 40 and the totem was only at level 20 with Seimei. So it definitely helps if you have a high level or high rank Onmyoji. But if you don't get discouraged, because as you can see here, it's definitely doable. It's just a matter of how long it'll take you. And again, it took me like 50 minutes last time, and I failed about 7 more times besides. That doesn't include the 50 minutes. So I actually took almost 3 hours to do this. But thankfully, I only have to do this once, you know, just for clearing it and the sake of unlocking it. Again, do not encourage anyone to do this for the sake of farming souls, because if you spend the same amount of time in investing your DPS units, you probably get to progress much more through that way. So yay! God, it took so long. Alright, so that's how you do the frozen time manually. The auto way to do the frozen time is going to be posted on another video, so check that out if you're interested. So to give you guys a summary, we are going to need 4 Yama Usagi. The first one speed has to be 161, second one being 140. The third and the fourth one can stay at the base speed, which is at 115. And keep in mind that all 4 of those need to have Fortune Cat soul sets on them. So we need 4 total sets of Fortune Cats. And also, your choosing of the DPS unit, in the example that we use, we choose Obome. And you want to make sure that your DPS unit has enough attack power to defeat Kusa. And you can either equip Azur-Basan or Fortune Cat on your DPS if you want to make it extra safe. And lastly, your choice of Onmyoji, whether if it is Seimei or Kagura, just make sure they either have the Protect Shell skill with Seimei, or if you're using Kagura, make sure she has the Storm skill with her. And you want to make sure your DPS unit and your Onmyoji is faster than your slowest Yama Usagis. So make sure your speed is above 115 for both Onmyoji and your DPS unit. So that's it for today's video. Do bear in mind that if you're trying out this method, you are very likely gonna fail many times before you are able to beat Orochi 10. But don't give up hope and just keep on trying. And if you have any questions, please leave them down below. Also, if you have enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.